To today's tour and talk for the Cerulean Arts Collective. We're featuring the artwork of Ronnie Bookbinder, Dora Ficher, Ritva Kangasperko, Andrea Lyons, and Joe Sweeney. And the artists are with us today. So I would ask that you please stay muted unless you're speaking because we pick up your background noise. And also try to avoid sharing your screen. That sometimes happens. So you want to try not to do that. So what we're going to do first is a tour of all the exhibitions. So Tina's going to go around the gallery and each artist is going to speak about their show. And after that, we'll open the breakout rooms. So you'll be able to meet with your artists individually. And, if you signed up for someone in particular, you can always leave the room and go visit one of the other artists. We encourage that so you can get to know them. We are recording this so for posterity, so we will post it on it's just the tour and talk portion, not the breakout rooms. And so you'll be able to watch it again or send the link to someone who missed it. So we'll have a link to a YouTube video sometime tomorrow. And also, if you want to come down, if you're in range, you want to come to the gallery to see the shows in person, which is always the best thing, you can do that. We're open Wednesday through Friday, 10 to 6, and Saturday, Sunday, 12 to 6. And you can also see all the work on our website. So everything is available there. So I'll put a link in the chat for you so you can see it. And you can also purchase on the website, which is a fantastic thing to do. So I put a link in there for you. So I'm going to spotlight Tina's video, which is the view of the gallery, and we'll get started. And the first artist we're going to visit with this afternoon is Dora Ficher. So Dora, you could unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted, yes.
All right, well, you could tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you're displaying with us this time.
Sure. So my name is Dora. I live in Philadelphia. I'm originally from Buenos Aires, Argentina. During the pandemic, I moved my studio. I did not work a whole lot. It was dark days. So I decided I was going to work on a series. It's called Back to the Light. And that's what I did with Encaustic. And the little ones that you see are pen and inks, which are my happy paintings. So I've always been painting happy things. But this last year has been quite dark. But luckily, we are getting back into the light. And so I decided to do the series in Encaustic. If you're not familiar with Encaustic, I work with wax. I warm up the wax, pigmented wax, and I paint with it, and I do it in many layers. So I had, like this one, I had whites and lighter layers, and then I go up to dark, and then I can scrape, and the lighter layers will come up. And you can also read about it in my website. It tells you exactly about Encaustic. And so I really wanted to do the series after I moved my studio, and when we are finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And I thought it would be great to share with my pen and inks, which represent paintings of my travels, of my country, Argentina. I love to use colors. So all these are very colorful South America and Argentina is very colorful, and that's how most of my art is. I try to use lighter colors, but I always end up using my dark, vibrant colors because that's what I like. And that's what I did also with these encaustic. And the nice thing about encaustic, you can carve into the wax, you can make lines, you can, I fuse it with a heat gun so it can go in, and the lighter parts that are layered in the back come out. I also add something called pan pastels. That's what I did with this one with the gold, and it makes things pop up. I like working in layers and seeing what's underneath and what's going to come up when I carve in, or when I fuse with either my heat gun or with a flame. I use a torch to fuse, and as I fuse, you can see all the different colors coming up. And encaustic has been around since forever and ever and ever. They used to preserve mummies with it because it's a very, it's a medium that lasts forever. The only thing you can do is put it under fire, because that can melt it. But 90-degree temperatures doesn't do anything to it. I work on it at 200 degrees. So my goal with these paintings was to start showing the light coming out. So I hope that you can see that. Here's more of my pen and inks, different villages where I have traveled to. And I just love to do houses and doors and everything that I see.
Dora, do you miss Argentina?
I do. I wouldn't want to be there now. It's very bad with COVID, but I do. I went to art school there, and I do miss it, but my life is here now. But I have a lot of family there. In fact, some of my cousins are watching this right now.
Did you learn encaustic? Did you learn encaustic there, or?
No, I learned it here. I learned it about 10 years ago with an artist friend, Lorraine Glessner, and also with Leah McDonald. I took classes with her about maybe 9 years ago.
How about that?
Yeah.
So the encaustics are fairly recent for you then?
Oh, they were all done in the last few months. Oh, encaustic as
as your medium. Mm-hmm.
I've only been using it about 10 years. I used to use oil and a lot of watercolor, pen and ink, and acrylics before that. But I just fell in love with encaustic, and that's mostly what I use now when I'm working in the studio. At home, I do the pen and inks. I'll do some digital work as well.
It's a beautiful show, Dora. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
And some of them you attach objects to
yes. Yeah, a lot of the things I collage, some you can see like this, some you can't. I like to tell stories with each one, so I have things collaged in the background. And each piece has significance to what I'm doing.
So do you work on the pen and ink sort of like in between your encaustics?
I do it, the pen and ink, I work a lot at home, like when I'm watching TV or listening to a book or listening to music. I just sit, I draw a lot of, 5x5 squares, and I start just, I used to call them doodles.
Mhm.
I just doodle away. And I have like a collection of pen and inks.
Mhm.
And this is the first time that I'm showing them in the gallery.
They're fantastic.
Thank you.
I mean, I guess the encaustics are pretty labor intensive, right?
They are because of all the layers and the fusing and the way that I work with it. I use oils, pigments also at the end, so I might paint with them on top. I use pan pastels, but you have to do them. I do them in several parts. I work in layers with them.
And then you like work in a ventilated studio situation?
Yes,
Mhm.
I have what it's called a ventifume, which is like it's a big thing that takes the air out, and it's connected by a hose to the window, so it takes the fumes. Encaustic is very safe. The only problem, it could cause fumes if it goes above 200 degrees, but I don't, I keep it 200 or less. So hopefully I don't have any problems with that.
All right, great. Well, thanks so much, Dora.
Thank you.
Next, we're working our way to Ritva's exhibition. Ritva?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending, and a special hello to people in Finland and UK and Minneapolis that I see. I'm a figurative painter and printmaker, and I really exploring the humans and people's relationship between the nature and people and animals and birds. That is my main thing, and I'm really wanting my paintings to bring happiness. And here is a little series. The red is I'm on my way. This lady knows her way. The yellow is supermodels. They are in the sunshine of the success. The green is how we are all many. We have many features. We are multidimensional as people. And the blue one is about a lady who runs in the sky. She is a constellation. So I'm always wanting, I really want people to have a positive energy, fun, and joy when seeing my paintings. That's my main goal. And I also want to feel good myself when I paint. This painting is, like many paintings they just come, but this painting with the leopard is a memory from the childhood. My cousin used to play with leopards in a little village in Finland. Imagination, of course. And it's just one of those things when you have everything perfect. There's no worries. It's a perfect day with your leopard, with the sky, with the birds, with trees. Everything, there is nothing going wrong in that kind of a day. So it's that kind of a memory. And I sometimes paint oil, that is oil, sometimes acrylic. Here I have a painting about cooperation. It's called Cooperation, and it is a cooperation between us and Lyons. That could be, and it's basically, we cannot do things alone. This painting is all about that. We need each other. And I'm not totally sure what they are doing, but they are working something, and they are working together in the perfect harmony. And yeah, it's something that could be and should be. So I'm looking things from that perspective. Here on the left, there is a painting which I call present from the life. We all get presents. We get friends, we get skills, we get talents, we have events, we meet people. Those are presents from life. But like in this painting, the lady is not totally sure how to react when you get a worm from the bird. It's kind of symbolizing how we don't always understand when we get a present from life. We don't recognize it. Sometimes we get really big presents and we don't understand them. For example, it could be a skill, it could be a friend. So here we have a painting about drinking coffee. Nobody should drink coffee alone. And this painting is for people so that they can have company. And I'm from Finland. We make it for us. It's really important that we have coffee, we have a break, we connect, we enjoy each other's companies. It's not about having coffee and doing emails. That's a big no-no. And it's actually in all Nordic countries. It's Sweden, Norway, and Denmark as well. It's a time to connect. Well, here we have a lady who hasn't been even waking up because no coffee. And I do want to point out that she has high heels, because that you have to have. But otherwise, she's just not even woken up wanting to have her coffee. Coffee is important in my culture. And notice she's not alone. She has those birds. In this painting is this is a sky runners. They are on their way home, and this bird is kind of thinking, good grief, does this lady understand I can actually fly? But she doesn't mind. And it's my way of saying, when there's a rush hour, there are people who are running in the sky instead of sitting in the car or in the train. Then there is a painting about flying exercises. This lady is learning to fly. The birds are teaching. And it's actually, there's so many layers of paint that it really, in my mind, the painting shines. Anyway, they have fun time, learning, teaching, and being together. So you know, if you haven't been trying to fly, you should. And I would like to also say that I do lots of flying women in my printmaking. We don't have prints here, but that's kind of a theme. And I think it's probably a little bit related. Hey, women can do things. Well, here we have a wave runner, and if you've been in the ocean and seeing the waves crashing on the shore, you could see these kind of wave runners, and you could try it yourself. It's not easy though, running on a wave. And here we also have she has company. She doesn't want to go run alone, so she has a bird. Again, bird could fly, but decided, well, why do it? Then we have a painting called Busy Morning, but it is busy, but there is a harmony. Lady has had coffee with a fox, because you can't have coffee alone. And I think the painting itself gives the harmony that after you have your morning coffee, you can rush and start your daily work or stress or whatever. Here I have a painting about wolf and I howling the moon. This is something everybody should do. It's a little bit like coffee drinking. It's the way to connect. It's a way to connect with the nature. It's a way to connect with your wolf. If you don't have a wolf, borrow your neighbor's dog and go howling outside. Try it. And it is, again, that relationship, what we could have, both with the nature, with the planets, which I consider part of the nature, and with the animals. And then we have this is called Happy, this first painting here. It is a happy man. When you are really happy, then the birds and the flowers and the sky and the sun and the moon, everybody is happy with you, enjoying. And I consider this a very joyful painting. I'm not sure where he is going, but I think he is on his way to propose. That's what I think. Specifically, he is in love, and everybody is kind of enjoying life with him. And here we have a lady who has friends. Her friends are birds, flowers, fishes, and the planets. And she's decided that when she goes somewhere, she'll want to have her friends with her. And that's what she has. She carries that vase with her and has the whole friendship and all the friends with her wherever she goes. And as you see, the fishes are in the vase and all the birds with her. And then we have a painting called Summer Games. This painting has probably 15 to 20 layers, and it is the world's most rare bird because it has rollers. It's as comfortable in the air as on the roads. And they are playing with a planetary butterfly. So that is all summer. But as I said, this bird can use the roads because it has these rollers, big rollers. Let me know if you've seen one. They're very rare. And here I have a painting. It's called Three Sisters. It could be three girlfriends. It's about that when you have a good friends or good sisters, you have good connection, you have support, you are powerful. You know, cooperation makes us very powerful. Whether it's between friends, whether it's sisters, however it is, this is all about power through cooperation and friendship.
So Ritva, you seem to blend like naturalism and fantasy, like sort of back and forth very easily.
Yeah, and I get my ideas from dreams and from sometimes they just come and sometimes they memories or sometimes something happens, but the ideas come very easily to me.
And how do you approach your paintings? Do you plan them out or do you just start, and is it more intuitive?
It's extremely intuitive. So I have studied the technique and all that, but my process is so intuitive that I'm actually trying to cut the logical thinking totally. And I do very abstract and I do also realistic, but this is what I call my whimsical style, which I feel very comfortable with. And yeah, like this week, the black wolf came to my dream, and obviously it wants to be painted. So I hope you enjoy my paintings. And like this year we didn't have models. I do prefer painting from the model. There was only one painting where I used the model, and I had him only 20 minutes. It's the painting with the lion. So I do prefer using the model even when it is imagination.
Well, it's a wonderful collection, Ritva. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, next we're heading into Joe Sweeney's gallery.
Okay, hi. So,
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Joe Sweeney. I've been painting for a long time and teaching at the Pennsylvania Academy. And most of the work you see here, the smaller ones, are paintings that were done outdoors on location. Larger ones were done in the studio, usually from one of the paintings that were done outside. So that first one we passed was a little town called Killeebegs in Ireland. This one we're zooming in on here is the coast of Bermuda. And this one is a slow drying acrylic that I've been using lately because it's easy to travel through airports because it'll dry within 2 or 3 hours after the paint is done. It works a lot like oil painting, but it has the ability to dry quickly so that you can get on a plane and move through the country quickly. This is the coast of Ireland, the west coast, and you get a lot of changeable weather up there, and this is part of that. On one side, you almost have it like a yellowish sky, and on the other side, it's got that bluish cast to it where it's sun shooting through. Most of these are about the changing of sky, weather, sunlight, time of day, and just making a little painting of that to kind of hold it in position or hold it in your hands for a little bit longer. This one here is a place called Slieve League. That's the highest point on the west coast of Ireland. It drops down 2,000 feet to the ocean. And if you go fishing down there, you can pull out blue lobsters from the water under those cliffs. So, and that's a 11 by 14 size there.
So Joe, you're actually painting these outside on the spot, right? The small ones?
Well, most of them, yeah, like this one, Cape May one here. The last one was actually done in the Zoom class that we did for the Academy, but this one was done on the spot. So as I'm out there, I was standing in Cape May. There's a, what do you call it? Audubon has a watch or a platform for bird watchers. And this is looking kind of west, just after the storms were breaking up. We were painting all day and everything was gray. And just at the end of the day, when the class is getting ready to end, then the sun came out, as usual. So that's where this is from. And that's a 12 by 12. The next one up is a pastel that was done from a smaller painting that was done in Cape May. And I had mostly in this one, you can see that the sky and the ocean and the colors that were going on at the early morning, but I didn't have the boat in there yet. And I did, because I took that back to the studio. This is a pastel, well, you know, and you can see the reflection on the glass there. So the boat was dropped in a little bit later in the studio because I had more time to do that. And I'll sometimes take a photograph when I first start the image, do the painting, take a photograph at the end. So if there's anything missing, I can drop the things in that might not be there. These two are Ireland. The one on the left is the building that we usually stay in, that when we go over there. The connection here is I went over in 2001 to figure out where my ancestors were and found a couple cousins, and they said, go over here. This is Mcsweeney's Bay. So I found a little place that used to be it's always been a hotel or a boarding house, I guess. And they have a great view of Mcsweeney's Bay, and you're looking across the bay to that section called Slieve League that was the tall cliffs. It's by a town called Killeebegs, and it's the biggest fishing port on the west coast of Ireland. This is also same thing, only this one is another pastel. It's a 30 by 40 pastel done from smaller painting, and it just shows the changing light, either early morning. I think this was more late afternoon on this one, but it's as you can see, it's a little tricky to see in this angle with the glass on it, but you know, in person you can make it out a little bit better. Next up is actually this next one up is the entrance to Killeebegs Harbor. So we're standing up on the hills. A lot of this area is undeveloped. It's all farming, sheep, fishing, but you won't see many factories around here. The only factories in the town are woolen mills from the sheep, and they do have the largest wool carpet making loom in the world in that little town, and they make some of the carpets for the Windsor Castle. There's a couple local sheep hanging out, and again, it's 30 by 40, and those little dark mounds there are turf or peat that the people dig up to burn in the fireplace to knock off that cold air. It's usually, when we're there in the summer or the fall, it's usually in the 60s. It doesn't go much below that over there. This is one of the little waterfalls in the area. This is near a town called Andrea, and that's more the woolen weavers area. My cousin who lives over there, Colum, is a weaver, and they have been weavers for many centuries, and he will show you when you go to the mill how to weave, how to spin yarn from the sheep, from the wool, and then they'll show you how to do the loom, and then they'll show you where the big mill is, where it makes larger things. This is a little town. I think this is Dunfanaghy. It's a little town in between the two places. It was a nice day there. Had some breaks in the weather. Sometimes you'll be painting and you'll start out in the sun. It'll rain for a few minutes, and then the sun will come back out again. So what I had on a lot of these was the canvas was set up in the trunk of the car looking out. So if it did rain, the hatchback covered you up. Okay, we're moving back to Mcsweeney's Bay again from that little B&B that we stay in. And if you look at the middle of the painting there, you'll see these birds that are dropping down into the water. Those are called gannets. And they go up about 50 feet to 100 feet and dive straight down into the water to do their fishing. So I had never seen that before, but it's pretty interesting when you're standing there watching. All of a sudden, this will be a few of them here, but sometimes they're in the hundreds, and they'll just drop down all at the same time and start fishing on whatever school happens to be passing by there. And again, this is just moving down the coast a little bit further. And let's see, this one's more early morning, and clouds are usually just breaking up. You usually do have a little bit of cloud formation hanging over the mountains, because off the coast is the Gulf Stream. That's why the water is so blue up there. So you've got the Gulf Stream, you've got the North Atlantic, and those two start to mix. And when you have the mountains there, they start to roll together, roll up some nice clouds, so you can get some good work out of that, good color. Let's see, we're moving a little further. This is a little, when the rain comes in, you get that change in color, and it's not so bright. That little ruin there on the left is Rayhan Castle. Was in the 1600s one of the strongholds of the Mcsweeney clan. And there's a sailboat coming out of the harbor, which is across there. We're using a lot of, when this happens, the first color we're pulling out is Payne's Gray to work the water and the sky, just a little bit here and there. That's 10 by 20 inches, done on the spot. So you can see the difference in day from one day to the next. Mike?
So Joe, what is it about landscape as opposed to like still life or figure painting? Or
I like the idea, well, first of all, like being outdoors. I was always one of those kids that was looking out the window in school, and I wanted to be out there. But I like the idea of working with the moving light, the changing light, and trying to get a specific time, a specific day. And usually I think when I'm looking at this, I've got about 2 hours to put down most of what I want to get out of that day, because the sun will keep moving and change. And if I can get most of it in there during that time, I can always touch it up when I get back to the studio.
So do you have like a couple canvases going, or are you like shot after 2 hours? I mean, because it must be pretty intense.
Yeah, most of the time I'll have one set up for the 2 hours and stay with it. And then when that time is done, if I want to keep working, I'll pull another one out and do that. And I just move along until I exhaust myself, and then I get in the car and drive home, or, you know, bail out at that point. But
So,
it's more interesting to me. I need that immediacy of being on location and trying to capture the light of that time, and then be done with it if I can.
so where do you plan to travel to when you can travel next? Yeah.
Well, I would like to shoot for Bermuda in maybe the end of September or October. That'd be one shot we could do, because it's only 2 hours away from Philadelphia. And maybe go back to Ireland in that area in the last week of October, probably. But I have to wait to find out for sure if everything's open and we can move around easily. So that's going to be the trick of it.
So those are your two favorite locations?
Yeah, but I've done Bozeman, Montana. I've done Key West, Florida, Newport, Rhode Island. I'm thinking about Nantucket. So anywhere that, you know, pops up that's available, easy to get to, not too much with, you know, not too much of a problem with customs. Because I like the Irish customs is they hand you the paper that you filled out on the airplane. They hand it back to you and say, keep that as a souvenir, and they just walk you through. There's no. You're on the airplane filling this thing out, getting all the details in there, and then they just say, thanks, bye. We'll see you. So
how refreshing.
Yes. Coming back is the problem.
Right.
You know, where'd you get these paintings? That kind of stuff.
What are they worth? Then you got to pay duty.
Oh, well, actually, if I tried to take those paintings to Bermuda, I would have to pay 30% duty on the value of the piece. And that you have to show them what the value of it, because they don't want you importing artwork they don't have a income tax. So most of their revenue comes from duties or taxes of people coming in or out of the country. So mostly coming in. So they're very picky that way. Ireland doesn't have that. It's actually easier to travel around Ireland than it is traveling around Bermuda. But you have the water in Bermuda, you know, the weather, especially if it's, you know, cool out here, you can go down there and get a little bit warmer. They're nice. Each place has its own points of interest. So, okay, well,
it's a great collection. Thanks, Joe.
Okay, thanks for letting me show it. See you later. I'll mute.
So now we're heading into Andrea Lyons' exhibition. So Andrea, are you there? You want to unmute yourself? Hi, Andrea.
Hi.
Can you want to tell us about your
Wait a minute.
and the work?
Sure. Writing and illustrating a children's book. And I started writing children's books back in 1975, a little bit after my daughter was born. And I have 5 grandchildren now, and my daughter is 47, and she became a writer, and she writes for social media, but she did have a nonfiction book published that she wrote called Bride on Overdrive. by St. Martin's Press. This book I wrote about my youngest grandchild. Her name is Ruby Green, and it's called Ruby Green Hip Hop Queen. And she and her brother Eli like to dance. Her brother is older, and she likes to do whatever he likes to do. And so, you know, there was her interest in dancing, and they're both natural dancers, and I love to watch them. And before the pandemic, I used to go watch them dance in the studio where they took lessons, hip hop lessons in Philadelphia. That's where they live. And, you know, it was a lot of fun watching them. What I do normally is I do oil painting, and I've done encaustic, and I've done all different types of painting, and I majored in printmaking when I was you know, younger at Tyler, and then I got my master's in painting at the academy. So I'm kind of I've done a lot of different things, but the pandemic was a good time to sit down and write and illustrate, and I had fun with the illustrations. It was a lot freer to use watercolor and ink, pen and ink and watercolor. I had fun with it. So I've made a book for each child, each grandchild. I have 5 of them. Yeah. And they wonderful. This one was the only one that I actually published. So the one that you're looking at now is it's of Eli, that's her brother, and Ruby is in the corner watching him dance. And you know, they're colorful paintings. I like to use color, and I really enjoyed doing them.
These are watercolors, right?
They're watercolor, yeah. Watercolor and pen and ink.
So how did Ruby like the book?
Oh, she loved it, and so did her brother. And you know, when I first I showed it to them before it was published, of course, and she was very excited about it, and so was he. And then afterwards, she went around and showed all the neighbors, you know, on her street, the book. Yeah. So she's 6 years old now. When I started doing this, she was 5, and she turned 6 in January. Yeah. But now I'm starting to paint again, but a little different than what I did before. So what I was doing before was very tedious, you know, work. It was, here's, if I could show you a picture of, oh, well, I got it.
Yeah, we can wait till the breakout room. If to
What's that?
You can wait until the breakout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a picture of them at the end of their dance recital, bowing, you know, and yeah. So that the book it starts with her learning how to do hip hop dancing. And then they practice throughout the book. They practice, and it shows them in the classroom practicing, and at home practicing, and then on stage, you know, with the other people in the class. So,
What's a wonderful gift for them?
Yeah.
A book. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is a different book. This one was my first grandchild. He's 18 now. And it was called Jacob's Window. And here's a picture of the rain that was pouring outside the window that he was looking at. And it was kind of ominous and foreboding. And he received a lot of comfort from his family while looking out the window at the storm. You know, they comforted him. And the book is about, you know, about the family, love in the family during times when, you know, that were a little uncertain. And here's his father climbing up the stairs and shining a light into his room to see if he was okay. And the other one was him sitting by the window.
It's a really wonderful collection, Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I made 5 books, and they're all about all of the grandchildren.
Yeah, you're a very interesting artist because, you know, you do this, but you also do ceramic sculpture. You also do like painted wood construction. So you're very like talented.
Yeah, I do like to do different types of things, and I love sculpture, and I never majored in sculpture, but if I were back in school again, I'd probably major in sculpture. I love doing painting and sculpture and printmaking, although I haven't printed in a while.
Well, thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you.
So, all right, now we're heading into Ronnie Bookbinder's exhibition. Ronnie?
Yes, hi. I usually love to paint urban industrial areas and show their relation to nature. However, now in this collection, I've painted memories. With these first 2 paintings, you can see explosions of color. Red, yellow, orange, and blue flowers seem to jump off of the canvas. And next to it, a copper pot of coffee. Flowers and coffee focus us on the continuing comforts of our world and the simple joys of life. During this strange time in our world, I've been inspired to paint memories, both joyful and hopeful. And you will see paintings of remembered landscapes and nighttime visions of flowers. Even at night, the flowers burst with life and color. This is meant to be a metaphor for the strength and fortitude of the human spirit. Surely proud survivors. I love traveling and visiting different countries and their museums. This stimulates me to paint. These inspirations fill me. Now I've painted memories. So when you view the landscapes, you may think you recognize them, but most are actually compilations of remembered places. I was fascinated to notice how the flowers glimmered and shone even in the nighttime. And I think most of us can agree that we have emerged from this pandemic emergency, starting to see the hopefulness and the glimmer of joy emerging once again. I named this Cleveland. I've actually never been to Cleveland, but I think that's what Cleveland would look like. So this is one of the few that I have some urban details in. And one of these days I will travel there. This is called Moonlight Sonata because I painted it with the idea of the moon and the stars in the background. And just the happy glowing colors showing through, and maybe some of the shadows as well. This is a trilogy of different different flowers, and how each one had its own character, almost like a person. And this darkened one, even though the colors were rich, still you could tell that it was a dark time. This larger painting I call Bluebarn Park, because I'm sure someplace back there behind the trees must be a barn. But if I traveled up that path, I would see how sunny it was and go and visit the different flowers. And actually the painting to the left of this one, I imagined to be a group of flowers that possibly would have been at the top of that hill. And with the sun maybe setting in the background.
So Ronnie, are you working, what is your reference for your paintings? Are you working on the spot? Are you working from images?
Most of these are from my imagination. I admit walking around in my neighborhood and seeing some of my neighbors' plantings that they have given me inspiration. But most of them are not reproductions, but well, maybe reproductions from my memories.
Mm.
Now here you see Rob's Bridge. And this is a bridge in my area where Rob bumped into the side of the bridge and has been named Rob's Bridge there evermore. But the landscape of it has really, it's changed somewhat in the painting, but the bridge does sort of look like that. This one I call French Tapestry because I know that if I were to get to return to Provence, I might see a meandering street like this with the lovely walled-in small homes to the side, and the beautiful colors that the homes often are there. These also, I guess you can tell from my paintings that I would love to go back to France one of these days, maybe Paris, and get to visit the bistros and sit and have a nice cup of coffee. I know, was it Dora talking about coffee? And I think that would be very nice to have a moment back in France and visiting different areas. And this is a compilation, standing on a hill, seeing the approach of the city and the factories, seeing the water and the bridge that center in it, and just thinking of all the beautiful places there are in the world and hoping to get back to them. I love to see if I can demonstrate the glowing colors that I see. Here are a bunch of irises from my neighbor's mailbox. And I always admire how they come up so lustily each year. This one's called Cauliflower because it's really different shades of cauliflower vegetables, but they look so floral. I accented the flower part of them. And here we see a small village huddled at the bottom, the foot of the mountains. Perhaps people will go slide down the ski slopes and or maybe climb up and just see what can be seen from the very top. And this is reminiscent of our Schuylkill River, I think it's the Turtle Hill Lighthouse. It's the first boathouse that was created for women. And you see its reflection in the water. I love to paint with acrylics. I find that you can layer many layers and create depth of color in that way, and also create a vibrancy. And I like that it dries quickly because I can continue to paint to my heart's content.
Well, it's a wonderful body of work. Thank you so much, Ronnie.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for the opportunity.
And thank you to all the artists for their wonderful work.